good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where in the world you are. Welcome to On Sabbatical with Dr. Crystal. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is Christmas Eve in Thailand, and by the time this records, it will be Kwanzaa. So I'm excited to have a guest today, Dr. Maya, my dear friend and colleague in the YouTube space. She is the host and creator of Fly Like Me PhD, and I am going to turn it over to her to introduce herself. But I'm excited that she would be a part of this series. She is one of my first mentor traveler sisters in that she encouraged me to take a trip to Colombia earlier this year. And oh my God, it was just life changing. It was an amazing experience. So this series is all about exposing myself and my audience to women who are actually taking sabbatical career breaks. And primarily women of color, people who are from diverse backgrounds in all kinds of ways, but especially race and ethnicity. And I'm just so honored that she would be here to tell us a little bit about her story. Would you please introduce yourself further to the audience?
Yes, of course, Dr. Crystal. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so glad that we are colleagues and connected within the YouTube space. So, as mentioned, everyone, I am Dr. Maya, my YouTube channel, Fly Like Me PhD. I really encourage Black women to live or to move abroad. So, as Dr. Crystal has mentioned, obviously I achieved one of those goals, getting her to go to Colombia. Very honored to have done that and really looking forward to our conversation.
Yes. So today, we are going to talk about a variety of issues, especially this idea of the catalyst. The series is called Before, During, and After, because I really want to see what are the trends and what are the insights we can learn by looking at these diverse women and how they navigated the decision to take a sabbatical career break and look at maybe were they disillusioned? That was my story, how they navigated the planning process, any major transformations that they had, and just how also they came back to launch a new chapter. Dr. Maya has a unique journey in that she also was in a doctoral program. She started international traveling at a young age. She took a break from the coveted tenure track faculty life. And so this is a space where we're really going to be celebrating the stories of women of color, the catalyst that drove them to try this, any unexpected insights, any tips around slow travel or solo travel. And then lastly, what is sort of like that one non negotiable that you took back from your experience traveling? Now, I know, like myself, you've done many, many international trips for a variety of reasons. So I'm happy to learn more about that. And I want to start off with our first question, which is the question of the catalyst. So, can you tell us, Dr. Maya, a little bit about sort of where you were, maybe career wise, physically, geographically, at the time that the decision or the seed of the idea began to take root, and what was your sort of emotional state, maybe? I know for me, I was in a very toxic work situation, and I was starting to have chronic stress related health issues. I was grieving the loss of a colleague who had died in her position in the academy. And all of these things sort of, what's the word? They came to a head, lack of a better word, to make me realize that if I didn't go then, if I didn't make a decision to start trying to go then, that I would never go. And so I'm excited to learn a little bit about what was the catalyst for you when it came to the decision to take a career break.
Yes. So for me, I was in my doctorate program and I had completely reached burnout. I graduated with my PhD in 4 years. I worked super hard all of the time. And even though I had been accepted to a tenure track position, I really, really wanted to go on a sabbatical. I just couldn't go from that program to working all of the time. And so I was able to negotiate with the university to be able to have a postdoc and to be able to go abroad. So that was my sabbatical. It was an entire year that I lived in Colombia, which is another reason I probably encourage you to visit. I lived in Colombia for an entire year and I was able to be there rather than start my tenure track position automatically. When you asked the question about how I was feeling emotionally, I was so drained. I was so stressed out. I was so tired all of the time. I was angry. I was sad. I probably had all emotions minus happiness. And I just knew it was not something that I could continue. Am such a like hard worker, very committed. There was no way I was going to take a break or stop, and the only way to do that was to be able to take a sabbatical. So having that really allowed me to have a moment of kind of like peace and to refresh and to rejuvenate. Because while I was in Colombia, I didn't work like an academic position. I actually worked with a nonprofit organization. And so I was able to do a lot lighter work while I was there rather than the intensity of like tenure track and PhD. And it really helped me in returning back to the US to feel a lot calmer and to feel that I could begin again
Mhm.
of being engaged in the work that I was doing.
So I know that your sabbatical, it seems like it's also service oriented. Can you tell the audience a little bit about your field and the type of work that you were engaged in? And also, what was the reaction to your, I guess, supporters, your mentors when you made this decision? I mean, was it sort of normalized? Was it okay? Did you get any pushback?
Yeah. So I'm in the field of social work and I have my master's and my PhD in social work. And I was working with a nonprofit that focused on women that were cancer survivors. And so I was working with them, just like planning activities, like we had um, a day of dance where we were just like movement, just trying to uplift the women while they were going through their diagnoses and having conversations with them. We would have days where we just like ate together. So it was just enjoying life, being able to like really connect with people in real time instead of constantly writing papers or constantly teaching. It was just to be able to see what real life was outside of that. And your question about how people responded to this is a great one. This is 4 years ago, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday because it was very split in terms of how people responded. So, number one, a lot of people were like, "I'm confused. Why are you going to Colombia? Like, why aren't you starting the tenure track?" So there was a lot of confusion about where I was going and why. Number 2, there were some people that felt that I should have just started the tenure track and not gone abroad.
Mhm.
Number 3, I remember specifically a really close friend of mine. She said that to everybody else, the win is getting tenure track, but to you, the win is going to Colombia. And I was like, yeah, I was so excited about going to Colombia, and everybody else was so excited that I got tenure track. So it definitely was divided. I would say like my friends, because they know me very well. They were very supportive and very happy for me and knew that this was something I wanted for a long time. But I would say outside of that, not really. I think there was a lot of confusion, even from my mentor, but
Did you make any attempt to kind of alleviate people's fears or concerns? Or did you have fears or concerns about being in Colombia or being gone for so long?
yeah. Dr. Crystal, you're asking the right questions for me to let people know just in case you decide to take this as your trip of like how people are going to respond to that. So it almost feels to me like people are not supportive of you going abroad unless you're going to Europe. If you're going to any other country in the world, then it's like, why are you going there? What are you doing there? What are the safety concerns all of the time? I'm like, there's literally nowhere else you can go that they're like, "Okay, that sounds great. Have a good time." I remember when I was in undergrad and I went to Spain, no one asked questions about safety. Not one time, Dr. Crystal, there was never a question about safety. But anytime I went anywhere within Central America, South America, the Caribbean, always safety concerns. And that is a problem because I think that safety can be an issue in every place in the world, as well as there can be safe places in every place in the world. And so there are specific places that people believe are more unsafe than other places. And that is a whole nother issue that could be discussed.
Mhm.
So This is just so nice to, like, relive this experience really, because it's so long ago, but I'm like, a lot of these things I didn't really get to express with people, so it's nice to have this platform to be able to do so. The safety concerns, there were so many safety concerns that when I landed in Colombia, the entire time I'm like, "Something's gonna happen. I'm gonna go missing. This is about to be the end for me." Like, they had told me so much, they had scared me so much that I'm like, I should just say goodbye now. Like, I was super afraid. And when I landed, this person helped me with my luggage because I had landed before the luggage arrived. They helped me to find where my luggage was. I went outside. This person, random person, helped me to find the hotel that, the spot where the hotel shuttle was picking people up. When I got to the hotel, people were super nice. I mean, it was just everything that they had said, it was the opposite. People were super kind. They were very helpful. I felt no fear. I actually felt
Mhm.
very comfortable and safe. And I actually had a really good time the entire year that I was there and didn't want to come back. But that's a whole nother story for another day. You asked the question, did I have a safety concern? No. I am the world traveler, been to 46 countries, been on like 100 flights. Like, I don't have like any fear. Maybe I should, but I'm just like, that is where I want to be.
I'm a lot like you. I don't really think about the safety implications. I don't know if it comes from being naive or just living in Chicago a long time. One of the funny things that has happened to me multiple times is when I'm out traveling in these international streets, people are always like, "Where are you from?" Well, normally you would say United States, but before I knew to just say I was American, that's really what they're asking in many cases. I would say I'm from Chicago. Now everybody knows Chicago because of, TV and the mafia and all the stuff. People's mouths drop open because they don't expect that people like make it out alive. Chicago generally has a reputation of one of these really violent, our current leadership notwithstanding. Chicago is a wonderful place to live, and there are many very safe places to live, but there are also many that the media has perpetrated the stereotype that it's an unsafe place to live. So when you think about American cities, Chicago is one of those that has, mostly because of its history with the mafia. It has a history of these really dangerous organized crime and also corruption in the government. We've had more than one governor. Probably the only place that's had multiple governors go to jail, not like just get but literally incarcerated.
Yeah, and I can relate to you with that as a person from Detroit.
Okay.
The stereotypes that come with that, even abroad. I was, like, surprised that people knew about Detroit in these countries. I was just like, "Wait, what?" They knew. So, okay.
And the reason I like to bring that up is because I think we have to educate our brothers and sisters here in the United States that the Mecca that they think the world sees us as, it's not true. We are told that we are the gold standard because maybe there's so many people over the generations that have immigrated here for a better life. But the tea is out. People know that there is, especially now. But I mean, I would say at the time that I left about 18 months ago, I was really surprised when I was in Europe how many people were like, wow, what's it like to live? So on it's like, what's it like to live there? Like, were you scared? And especially in my case, because I was my whole career, my whole professional career as an academic was in the Midwest and back and forth in that area. So I feel some kind of way when someone tells me that there's a place that I'm going that's dangerous. Now, here in Thailand, they have a reputation the opposite of being like some of the kindest, nicest, easygoing people on the planet. And in fact, I can't remember, have you been to Thailand yet? I know you said 46. Okay, so you know. So they literally leave their food outside on a table for hours. Like you just come down and get your food when you want to, when you feel like it. People order groceries and it's just downstairs. I watched some people's food be downstairs. I ordered grab breakfast and lunch 4 hours apart yesterday. And I was like, these people ain't got their stuff yet. They had water, they had paper towel, they had cleaning products. I mean, they didn't have anything that would be spoiled, right? But it's mind boggling. And I've only been here 2 weeks that you could order a full set of what you need for your house for the week and leave it outside in the open on a table, and not a soul would even dream of touching it. That's just mind-boggling compared to how we are socialized to distrust people, including, like, our neighbors, right? And so that's an example of, like, some of the culture shocks that I've experienced that I'm, like, really grateful for when I think about, this idea of traveling and taking a sabbatical. It's supposed to be, in my opinion, an opportunity to rest, to get restored, to have ease, to have fun, to find like your happy place and the things that are fulfilling you, to try new things. So, moving on to your sabbatical year, I know that you were doing work as a social worker, but I'm wondering if you could share with us a little bit about how did you embrace the sabbatical, the Sabbath part, the rest and renewal part of the assignment for a sabbatical?
You don't even have to worry, Dr. Crystal. The sabbatical was the majority of the part. So I had gone to Colombia with a plan of doing something completely different than what I ended up doing. The person that I was supposed to be working with, I was no longer able to work with. So I actually did have the sabbatical for, I want to say, like 8 months. I only worked during the nonprofit for a few months, like 3 months. Most of it was a sabbatical because of that. So I really embraced it. What I did, how I got to country 46, is I traveled to 12 countries while I was abroad, 12 countries. So Dr. Crystal, nonstop, every single month, I was in a different country. That was like me embracing. I know we're supposed to be resting, but to me, I was also like, this is a moment that I want to take. Travel is very important to me. So during my sabbatical, I'm about to be, as you say, in these international streets. And during that time, Dr. Crystal, I was able to go to 5 countries by myself for the first
Okay.
time I had done solo travel too. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your experience as a solo traveler and what were some of like your tips or your hacks for that person who maybe they've traveled internationally a lot, but with a group or with a friend or with family, but they really know that if they're going to be gone, I think a month to 3 months to 12 months, they're probably going to be doing the majority of it solo. What are some insights that you can share with us about solo travel during your sabbatical?
So, number one, solo travel is possible, especially if you are a woman. It is possible. This was another thing that I always heard. Like, as a woman, you can't go anywhere by yourself, this and that. So, again, very afraid. But I also would say, like, just being cautious of your surroundings is really important, as we would do any day. Just paying attention, making sure you're good. I do things at night. Like, if it's too late at night, I will not do an activity. Once that sun goes down, I'm in. But during the day, I'm out in these international streets doing what needs to be done. I actually think that is really great if you're interested in solo travel because you get the opportunity to do whatever you want. You get to eat what you want. You get to wake up when you want. You get to go to the activities that you want. You don't have to negotiate those things with another person who's like, I don't want to eat at that restaurant. I'm not interested in going on that tour. Like, you can do whatever you want. It becomes your trip. And it is incredible with solo travel. And I will say that I also would suggest to do some tours when you're doing solo travel. And then you're not alone. You got a whole group of people that you're with. You have somebody that is in charge of the tour that's going to take you around. You can really get to know a place. And my final recommendation with solo travel is the first day, the first or second day, you can take a rest obviously on the first day. Second day, you do a tour that will take you around the city. So then you already start getting familiar with the area. And then after you do that tour, then you can recognize things on your third day. It's like, oh, I remember when we went here. I remember going there. And then you can become familiar with it. But I would highly recommend it. Even if you just go to one country solo, you could do it. You can do it and you can have a really great time.
Absolutely. And I would argue that once you try solo traveling, girl, when people want to invite themselves on your next trip, you're going to be like, you sure? What I like to do, and this is because I have really learned to love solo traveling, is I like to invite people to join me for a leg of my travels. And right now, I'm missing, home. One, I'm so far away, and then there's the time difference or whatever. But you get to really look forward to when people are joining you. And I might have different friends from different walks of life, you know a friend from work, a friend from school, my adult children, come visit me at different legs of the journey. So that way you always have something to look forward to, but you're also getting like that me time. Another benefit I think of solo travel that I don't know if this is true for you. Did you feel like you got to know yourself better? I mean, how did you evolve as a person as a result of this particular style of travel?
Yeah, I definitely learned so much about myself. The main thing was to trust myself because I had to have a friend convince me that I could do solo travel. I was like, I would never go somewhere alone. Like, are you serious? I will find someone on this earth to go with me. And his friend is like, yo, you have already gone to 35 countries. Why would you think that you can't go to a country alone? I'm like, I've just never done that before. So a big thing was like trusting myself and my abilities to be successful with the solo travel. I also will let you know that I am a Spanish speaker, so that definitely helped to make me feel comfortable. And I went to Spanish speaking countries. And so really just seeing my ability to navigate a country with my Spanish, I'm like, I am out here, right? Nobody's translating for me. I'm doing this for myself. And I was super proud of myself for that. And then just the ability to connect with people without other people, right? Like I had to take this brave step of being willing to get to know people, of introducing myself to people that I didn't know, or just being comfortable with sitting in public by myself and eating and not feeling, like, ashamed about that. So, I definitely learned a lot about myself, like, I do have the ability to be able to do this. I am capable of doing this, and I am successful with this. So, I pushed myself out of my comfort zone. That was a big piece of it. Like, even though I'm known to travel, traveling alone was not my bag, and I was so proud of myself that I was able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it is a worthy goal to put yourself out there and to try it. I mean, I would argue that there's probably some people who when they try it, they might say, "Okay, I still prefer the other option." There's all kinds of personalities. I think for introverts, it takes a lot of the pressure off, as you were talking about, because you get to center the things that you actually desire to do. I think as an extrovert, it can also feel like it's not that big a deal because you're going to be talking to strangers anyway, because that's what we do. And I'm glad you mentioned the Spanish language piece because I think that's a key. I am learning already because I've been here like 2 weeks. I find that I'm more reluctant to go out and be in the streets amongst the people because I am not used to pulling out a translator because I also studied Spanish for a couple years. Now, granted, my Spanish was terrible when I started traveling, but I also went primarily to Spanish speaking countries and I figured it out. I could go order what I wanted to order in a restaurant, in a coffee shop. I could go take care of simple, tasks, pay a bill, purchase groceries, and people be like, "Oh, you speak Spanish." And I'm like, I just know these transactional Spanish conversations well. And I actually took an intermediate Spanish intensive course. So I think it's our academic training. I also test well in Spanish and read well in Spanish, but navigating like once you get past like the superficial conversations, like I know family members. So like I could say, so how's the family and talk and know that you're talking about this. I know furniture, I know days of the week, I know numbers. There's certain places where I'm gonna pick up, say, 60% of what you're saying. But fluent, no. But I love that it also, because I love getting to know people, it also really gave me a desire to improve in Spanish because I really wanted to be able to bond beyond those superficial conversations. So here I am basically at hello, goodbye, thank you. And so I think that's a deterrent, if you're not willing to learn a little bit of the language. I don't think anything should really be a deterrent, but I understand the reluctance of people to go places if they're not willing to spend a few months, preparing with, kind of like those, what they call those 100 high frequency phrases or words. I would encourage people to do that for sure. So we talked about solo travel. I don't know if we really talked about, like, did you have any aha moments as we wrap up the during the sabbatical, what was your most unexpected aha moment? This, profound clarity that you had about something that maybe was career related, maybe had nothing to do with your career, something you learned about yourself or tried that you didn't know that you loved, didn't know that you wanted?
Yeah, I guess the most unexpected moment was I did not want to return to the US. I wanted to stay where I was. I was like, it was supposed to be a break, and now you have to go back. And it was very, very hard for me, Dr. Crystal. I cried the entire flight back. I was just like, I'm not interested. I was like really enjoying my life. I had really built community. I felt comfortable and safe where I was. And I had, is it reverse culture shock coming
Mhm.
back to the US where I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I did not like it. I was just so used to the way of living there that coming back was really, really hard for me. Suffered for a few months returning back and been trying to go back ever since that day.
And how long has it been since your first trip to Colombia?
It has been, well, I went back to Colombia to visit some friends last year, but since I was on sabbatical there, it has been 3 years, 2 months, 30 minutes, 22 seconds, 5 hours. I'm just playing with you. But yeah, it's been 3 years. And I
Countdown. Hey, we have to
it
do what we have to
yes,
do to
to
make it
go back.
through.
Yes. Dr. Crystal, maracuya, what does that mean to you? I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for watching this episode. We need your support. I'm asking you to please hit the like button. If you're not a subscriber, consider joining our family. And you can also share this episode and send it to someone who you know is dreaming of becoming an international slow traveler.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I'm basically permanently on sabbatical, but because I love and miss my kids, I keep finding reasons to go back to the States when I go back to the US. And I didn't recognize it until it happened this third time. The first time I thought it was a one off. And the second time I came back from a sabbatical in Central America in Colombia, I was actually sick for the whole time I was at the conference. And then when I got to Mexico, it sort of went away. So, like I said, the first time I'm just like, okay, it's just a one off. And the second time it happened, I was like, ooh, this is very bizarre. And then when I got to Mexico, it was fine, you know? And so this last time when I came from Mexico, it happened again. And I was like, you know what? I think my stomach is upset because I'm anxious about going back. I think it's a stress response. I think that my whole system was like bound up and could not really function properly. I mean, I tried all the different natural remedies. I tried the medication remedies, and I don't. And I've had excellent health care now in Costa Rica and Mexico. I intend to actually have some checkups done while I'm here in Bangkok. I'm just really aware that our bodies are constantly giving us messages and constantly telling us what we need, what it wants, what's good for us, what's beneficial, what's helpful, and what's healthy. And a lot of times we just push it down, push it down, push it down. And so I really resonate with this idea that you're like counting down to the next trip. I think one of the ways I mitigate the anxiety that I feel when I'm in the US is to plan the next trip. I hurry up and plan a piece of the trip before I touch down. And then while I'm there, on the times that I'm feeling frustrated and anxious, I'll just put a little energy into working on the next leg of the trip. So I'm going back for 3 months this summer, and I'm already starting to plan where I'm going at the end of the 3 months. I mean, plan as in I've so Colombia is one of the places that I want to go back. I'm going to South America, so I'm going to see more of Colombia, and then I have Cuenca, Ecuador on my list as well. So I am definitely wanting to see more of South America, but that's how I cope with the intense anxiety that I feel about some of it is what's actually going on in the United States, you know? I think that's another aha moment for me. I really am not the kind of person that you would say is going to ignore the news cycle because so much of my career was, around public policy and events and being informed. And now I just, I have to turn it off. So I want to talk a little bit about the return. And so when you have the mindset of learning other cultures, learning about people from other countries, and you really learn that you love it, the return is a challenge, as we've already said. So, what are some of the things that you would recommend or tips that you would give for making sense of the return once you're back?
One of the biggest recommendations that I have, the most important recommendation, is to not return to the US in a city that you do not know. So I had returned to the US in a completely new city to start the tenure track position, and it was like strange to me, right? It was not at all familiar to me in any way. I had no friends, I had no family, so there was no comfort, like no security blanket. When I came back, I went into another city. So it was like going somewhere that I was like comfortable and safe to somewhere that I had no idea what was going on in the space. And I had never lived in this space before either. So I will highly recommend when you come back to have a space that is comfortable, that is safe to you, that you already know. You're going to be at your house. You're going to be with your family. You are going to be welcome back with your friends because that is going to help with the transition
Mhm,
to remind you of the good things in the US. Like going back and then doing another traumatic thing of going somewhere that you don't know,
mhm,
double, double problem. Like such an issue. That probably was also another huge issue for my return and why it was so difficult for me. Another thing that I did not like was that when I came back to the US, nobody asked me about my trip in Colombia. It was like, okay, so starting to tenure track. So what's your research interest? So what classes are you going to teach? No one was like, how was your experience? What did you do? Did you have a good time? Like no one. And so when you come back having conversations with people that actually value the
mm,
things outside of work, like that value your travel, that value your interests, so that that can be mirrored back to you. If you meet up with people that don't, for me, that was really sad. I felt like I wasn't seen in that
mhm,
way. It was only like, what could I produce and not any other value in my
mhm,
life.
mhm.
Extremely
It sounded like you had community. A lot of times, one of the issues that comes up that people talk about during their sabbatical is the need to find community. Now, because you were going, it did sound like there was a little bit of a wrinkle in terms of what you would thought you would be doing. You didn't get to do, so you got to do travel, more travel. But then you did get to have like some really important wins and make an impact in, whatever area or organization you were working with. I'm wondering in coming back, how did you find community for yourself? Because it is a little bit like a loss or grieving process when you come back, especially if you've had a great experience or you've just been gone a whole year. You've been gone a whole year. Like I still really miss some of the people in Mexico. I wanted tacos the other day, and I had, how like Americans' idea of tacos is like not really a Mexican taco, but it's the American. And we think we're eating Mexican food, but it's not really that Mexican because they would never put some things on tacos that we put on tacos, and they put things on there that have to be on there, or is it a taco that we don't necessarily, they're pretty straight raw onions and cilantro and really good meat. All that other stuff, they're like, what are you doing? What is that for? So I had a taco that was very Thai style, and it had stuff on it that I was like, this don't go on a taco. Like, why is this taco sweet? Like, who asked for this? Who asked for sweet tacos? And the funny thing is, in Thailand, I feel like their desserts have no sugar in them. We love sugar and we love salt in the US. So one of the things that's been good for me is as I travel, the food is fresher, the food is healthier, and the flavor profiles are different. So you get used to certain spices. So I was eating this taco and I was like, this tastes like Thai food. This don't taste nothing like a like what I want to. It needs, I literally had to deconstruct it and take some stuff off. Well, I ordered three. And so the first one I ate it as it was, and then the others I deconstructed them and tried to make them more Mexican flavor profile, basically. There was no cilantro, there was no jalapeno. I like jalapenos anyway, and I love cilantro. You can't have too much of that on anything. So I'm wondering for you, like, what are some ways that you mitigated, I guess, the sadness or the loss or grief? I would say it's a mourning period when you come home, the reentry. So how did you find community to support yourself through that?
Yeah, so one of the biggest parts was to talk to people that already know me, that, I'm already close to. They know my interests, they know what I care about. So they were really foundational in asking me the questions that I wanted to hear about how my trip was, how things went. That made me feel really good. Even though they weren't there with me in person, I was able to just call them on the phone and to feel that love from them. And then I had to buckle down and really make community in the place where I was. So, like joining different activities. I was at a university, so it was pretty simple to be able to find other people at the university that I could connect with. So I connected with like this Spanish group, and that like allowed me to still be speaking Spanish and feel connected, like I hadn't lost everything that I was working to do. I also met with somebody in the Spanish department. We had like similar research interests, and she really helped me to find community and she connected me to other people. So, after I got over my sadness, I really did try to lean into things that I was interested. I joined a dance group too so that I could have a hobby that I was doing on the weekends. And so I was like, you just have to jump in and you have to do the things. There are obviously people all over the world that are going to be interested in similar things to you. It's just trying to find those people. I think that if you're able to find people with common interest, or if you are able to find clubs or associations in common, that are
Mhm.
doing things that you're interested in, it's a really great way to be able to build community. And I also went to the farmers market. They had a farmers market and I was able to meet people at the farmers market as well. It wasn't that the people at the farmers market, we were like best friends, but it was like an established routine, like, oh, I've seen you every Saturday or something like that. So that made me feel good. And then I also started going to the library a lot and reading, and these were all things that made me feel better about being in the space. So, kind of like
Nice.
jumping in and trying to build community as best you can.
I have two other really important things I want to talk about before we bring it to a close. And one of them is, how do you think your relationships changed with other people, friends or family members? Because I think this is another thing that doesn't get talked about enough. One of the things, those same people who don't want you to go when you come back sometimes feel some kind of way, or sometimes you're having to reconnect and reintroduce yourself to them or introduce the new you to them. And there might be things that you were maybe, I don't know, focused on or concerned about before you left that you've, I don't know, matured or evolved. I want to say it's progress, right? Sometimes we have other experiences. And so we value things differently when we come back. I'm just wondering if you could share some of your experiences with how relationships evolved or changed in your family or friends, or work relationships, or your relationship to the idea of your career. Sometimes it takes has a huge transformation.
Yes, this is really good to talk about. So, I had to let some people go. There were some people
Mm.
that I had grown past that I just didn't feel connected to anymore. And so I kind of let those relationships fade out because they just didn't serve me anymore. It wasn't like a reciprocal relationship. It was particularly in my doctorate program, like, I think we really bonded over the trauma of doctorate program, but then once we were out of it, I realized that we didn't really have connections as friends, and so when I came back, I started to notice that, and I just didn't invest in those relationships anymore. A big thing with my family, which is wild, is like how I am the world traveler, but my great grandmother, she never flew on a plane ever. And so my history with my family is not one of travel. So my family's always confused. They're always like, I literally went home. I'm from Michigan. We talked about Detroit and Chicago. I literally went home during the summer and my aunt goes, so you're back for good? I'm like, just don't get it. It's okay. That's okay. With my family, and this is what I want to tell people, if they have family or people that you are close to that you can't just like get rid of. I don't know a better way to say that. People that are connected that are not necessarily supportive, but you can't be like, I'm done with you, parent. I don't know. With those type of people, you may need to hold back on valuable information until they need to know. They're on a need to know basis. So while you're like, I'm trying to figure out what country, while you're like, the visa is not working out, while you're like, the government is imploding and I don't know where I'm going, this is not a time to tell your number one dissenter. this is not the time, because they're going to be like, this is why you shouldn't go. Why would you want to go for a year anyway? You could just be at home doing blah, blah, blah. You should have just taken this job. This is not the time for them. When you are going through that process, you only have that conversation with people that will support you, because it will make you even more sad when you tell people and they say hurtful things to you. So
Mhm.
when it comes to those type of dissenters, you tell them ticket in hand. You're like, all right, so I actually am leaving next month on this day at this time. Moving on. Like, there's no room for discussion. This is what we're doing. And that's what I noticed, Dr. Crystal, that had changed. Was before I would tell my family everything, the whole process. I heard some super hurtful things. It made me super sad. And now I'm like, I would never even do that. I would just tell them right before I'm about to leave. Like, listen, this is when I'm going. This is how long I'm going. We're done. And I also don't ask my family for permission. Like, what do you think about this?
Mhm.
Why would you ask questions to people that don't travel like that? Makes no sense.
Mm.
It would make more sense for me to ask you questions about travel than to go to people that don't travel like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
Mhm. Mhm.
that's another
Absolutely.
thing, is like, yeah, just watch out for when you're talking about this, because Dr. Crystal, for some specific reason, maybe you can answer this. When it comes to travel, it really get people, they get really uncomfortable. You can do a lot of things, but like travel is the one that's like, oh, this is the problem. This is, of all the things you could do, this is the one we go come down on. I don't know why.
Yes, yes. Oh my God. Yeah. That really hits me hard because one of the things I really struggled with when I was back this last time. So the second time I came back, I really was in the house and I didn't go anywhere. The first time. So the second time I came back, it was a short period of time. I didn't even try to see anybody. And so the third time I came back, this time I did get to see people and I had been gone basically a year. I mean, they did because they didn't really see me the other two times I came back. They knew I was back because they saw it on social media, but they hadn't really got a chance to spend it. So people are literally asking me, like, what are you going for? Like they really struggle with this idea that I'm only going because I want to rest, to get to know myself and to have a personal or professional growth experience, whatever that may be, perfecting my Spanish, perfecting my cooking. I learned about this great program on it. So the interview in this series is a woman who came to Thailand on an educational visa and is going to culinary school. So one of the ways that you can get a visa in Thailand and other places too, I'm sure I've never heard of this, is that you can join a school or an institution that does certain classes. Now that means that your attendance and you proving that you actually did what you're supposed to do. You can't like register and not go because they will find you and lock you up. I don't know if they lock you up, but you'll be in big trouble and you won't be allowed to come. So I think that's cool because I love a cooking class. Everywhere I go, I try to do a cooking class. I love like the food markets and I do a lot of, testing the cuisine and the spices and the fruits and the vegetables of every place I've been. And so I just feel like we have to be okay. Like you said, we're not asking for permission. We're basically informing people that we have a goal. Just like if I said because I have a bazillion degrees, not bazillion, I have four, but that's a little excessive to most people. People are like, oh, you're going to get it, and I actually just love school. If school was free, I'd probably have twice that many. Just if I said, well, I'm going to go get a master's in, African American studies. I think you and I have talked about this. I really wanted African. I had three people talk me out of it. And so as a result, I know a lot about African American studies, love African American studies, but I don't have any degrees in it. I think I'm done going back to school, honestly, because school is expensive. But that being said, I would go to a country that I wanted to learn about the people, the culture, the language, the food, the traditions. And I feel like that's okay. And so people want like this deep reason, like it's a job, or I think they would be okay with, I met someone, like 90 Day Fiance or whatever. If I said, well, I fell in love and I'm going to find my soulmate or I'm going to be with my soul. You can't just want to go because you want to go. Like, why not? Like, why do we need a reason other than it's there? And I've only been, this is country number 8. And by the time I get back home, I'll be on 11 when I get back home. So I'm not necessarily like in a competition. The race is against myself. I do want to see as much of Asia as I can without going crazy. So we talked about relationships. We talked a little bit about growth and evolution. So I guess I want to give you an opportunity to share anything that we haven't talked about that you want to share. But really, my last question is always, what's next? Like, how can people find you, follow you? What big things are on the horizon with Fly Like Me PhD? I just love the name of your channel.
Thank you. Thank you. I did so much brainstorming on that name. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I want to answer or actually add on to what you said about how you can't just go to a country because you want to go. I think this is a fascinating topic because this has been my life. Like I told you, people are like, why aren't you just starting tenure track? And I'm like, I want to take a break. I want to practice my Spanish. And just like you said, if it's not a partnership, if it's not a job, if it's not a volunteering, like if you're not doing something concrete, you just can't be out in these international streets. I don't know why. There has to always be a reason, but rest or practicing Spanish is not a reason. And actually, Dr. Chris, so this happened in Colombia too. When I was there, they would always ask me, like, what are you here doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm just working on my Spanish. And they're like, wait, what? Like, you just came here to work on your Spanish? So there always just has to be a reason. Okay, so you wanted to know what is next, also how people can contact me. So obviously, my YouTube channel is Fly Like Me PhD. I have a LinkedIn, Dr. Maya Angelica, so you all can contact me there. I also have an email, flylikemephd@gmail.com, if you all want to contact me there. And I have a TikTok, which is also Fly Like Me PhD. So all of the things are there. And what's next on the horizon for me? I am trying to go back to Colombia. I am hoping to be back in Colombia in 2026. It is my greatest hope. It is my greatest wish. And I heard that when you want something, the universe conspires to make it happen. So that is what I'm hoping will happen, Dr. Crystal. And after I'm out in the international streets, Dr. Crystal, I don't know when I will be back in this country. I don't know.
That's amazing. I love that for you. I want to go back to see the rest of Colombia, and I don't know what city I'm going to be stationed in. And then I think I will fly home from Cartagena. I was in Cartagena before, as you know. I don't know how many people who watch my channel remember that, but it's on the Caribbean side. And I had such a phenomenal time. I have to go back there. So, but I'm starting in Ecuador and I will move myself, what is that, north and east. And so I hope to see you there. Do you know what city in Colombia you're going to? Is it where you were before?
It is not where I was before. I hope this time to be in Medellin. Yeah, so hopefully I will let you all know. I will keep you all posted. We will see.
Okay, okay. And I'm sure you'll be also journaling or vlogging that process on your channel as well. So we look forward to that. So if we are in Colombia at the same time at the end of 20, like this time next year, well, I do think I want to be home for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I'm gonna leave like Labor Day weekend, September. So
Yeah.
like September, October, mid-November. So it won't be quite a 3 month sabbatical, but it'll be just under 3 months. But I'm excited about going back to South America and learning my working on my South America Spanish. My
Yeah.
tutor is actually from Venezuela.
Yeah, Venezuela.
Yeah, I think it
It's
is Venezuela.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
I would love to see you. I would
huh?
love to see you. I would love to see
Yes,
you.
yes, we have to do a collaboration there. So I would like to just thank you so much for being with me. So I have a product that I am creating. It's really a hybrid product service, and it is called the Start Smarter Custom Travel Guide. And the bit.ly link to keep it cute is just Start Smarter Travel, because for a lot of people, the reason they don't leave is because they can't figure out how to press book, how to press purchase. You got to make a series of decisions. And at the end of the day, you eventually got to press purchase, right? No, all international trips start. You either book, in my case, I love booking the flight first and then the hotel, but you can do it in reverse, whichever you get the deal on. I make the budget. I decide where I'm going. I decide the dates and then I buy a ticket. And I usually do that part like well in advance. And then I start looking at Airbnb wish lists, booking.com hotels. Know that when I got started, I just felt so overwhelmed. And so many people I know are not moving forward. So this product is basically an opportunity for you to fill out an assessment. I'm a psychologist. We love an assessment. So I have developed an assessment for people to tell me what their preferences are, their style and personality for travel, their budget. And so I curate two itineraries for them and give them all the links that they need and the resources that they need to actually go ahead and book it. Now, they don't have to book it, but I'm basically doing some of the legwork for them. And then I'm closing that service out with the 30-minute call where we can talk about their concerns. I can share with them, which of the two itineraries I think I would do and why, and just get some feedback from them on the 2 trips that I plan. For a lot of people, feeling like someone, like myself, has done a lot of international. I mean, I've done, what is it, 8 countries now in 18 months? And in those 8 countries, it's probably double, like 16, 20 cities, because I did 5 cities in England when I first left, and I also did 5 cities in Mexico. So mostly it's 2. So like when I go to Ecuador, I'm only doing 2 cities. When I go to Colombia, I'm only probably doing 2 cities. 2 is probably more the average. But someone like yourself as well would be a great resource to say, just like you told me, you have to go to Cartagena. He's like, you can't go to Panama and not go to Cartagena. But you get in community with people who travel a lot, and you get some great ideas for your itineraries. And so I think, and it's at a very affordable price point. It's less than any gift that you're going to buy somebody for Christmas. If you are a person who's buying gifts, because we're not supposed to be shopping, right? We're supposed to not be spending our money this year. So I would love to work with you if you are a person who's watching this, who wants to be out on these international streets, but you're not sure how to get started and you just need that little push, somebody to hold your hand through the planning. This is a great product for you to check out. So I thank you, Dr. Maya, for being with me today. I thank you for all that you've done for the solo female traveler space, particularly for Black women on your channel and in your relationship, not just with me, but with so many people. I'm just really grateful that we met and that we get to continue to live our best lives in these international streets. And I'm sure that the best is yet to come for both of us.
I think so. And thank you to Dr. Crystal because you allowed me to process a little bit from my trip. I do find you to be a very trusted person that I can share things with related to travel. So that means a lot to me. And I'm really hoping in 2026, maybe we'll be able to see each other.
Yes.